So, first I'm going to start with preparation for activity 1, which begins with washing my hands. I'm going to use warm water. My hands wet. Get a good amount of soap. Start with my palms. And do the backs of my hands. And do in between my fingers on both hands. And do the knuckles of both hands. And get my thumbs and the creases behind them. And then the palms again. Okay, then I'm going to rinse them. And dry with a paper towel. And use that paper towel to turn off the faucet. Now I am ready to put on my PPE, which includes an apron, and finally my goggles. So now I am ready to, make my 10% bleach solution. So I have my 250 ml beaker here. I'm going to fill it with 180 mLs of water. And then 10 mLs of bleach. All right, so now I will swish the beaker around a little bit just to mix it up and pour it over my work surface. Spread the bleach mixture over the entirety of my work surface. As well as the permanent marker I will be using and the culture rack. So the bleach solution has been sitting on the work surface, culture rack, and permanent marker for 2 minutes now. So I'm going to go ahead and wipe it off with a dry paper towel. A triptych soy broth tube. It's it's already been out of the refrigerator for about 15 minutes, so it's not cold anymore. Don't need to wait for that. So 1 triptych soy broth tube, 5 mLs right there. I'm going to prepare my disposal jar now by pouring 70% isopropyl alcohol into this red cup. So here is my 70% isopropyl alcohol solution going into the cup. Almost out. Okay. So there's my disposal jar. So now I'm going to use my permanent marker to label the tube of the triptych soy broth with the name of the organism, which is S. mersicens, tough to say. And today's date, which is June 22nd. So there's that. Now I'm going to light my liquid paraffin candle. Keeping it a safe distance away from the alcohol. So everything is all set up and I'm ready to start activity 1. I will first begin by removing the metal top and loop from the culture vial, lifting up one side of the metal circle on the top. Okay, pulling it to one side. Next, I'm going to remove the sterile plastic pipette from its wrapping. And I will not set the pipette down in order to maintain sterility. So that stays in my right hand. So now I'll remove the cap from the triptych soy broth. Using the pinky finger of my right hand. I won't set the cap down, and I will run the lip of the tube through the flame. So the flame just went out. I'm going to still not set the cap, the pipette, or the broth down and relight the flame. Okay, there we go. Transfer pipette and cap back to where they were in my dominant hand and try this flaming again. Okay, so just run it through 2 to 3 times, holding it at an angle. Then I'm going to, still holding the tube at an angle, insert the pipette and draw up 1 milliliter of the broth. There we go. Okay, perfect. Now I'm going to flame the mouth of the tube again and replace the cap. and just holding the cap in my dominant hand. Okay, now that that's closed, I can put it away. And using my left hand, I'm going to remove the rubber stopper from the bacterial culture vial and dispense the contents of the pipette onto the culture. Then I'm going to replace the rubber vial and let this sit for about 30 seconds. So the vial has now been sitting for about 30 seconds. I'm going to remove the rubber stopper again with my left hand and gently mix the culture with my pipette. Still sterile, still has been in my right hand this whole time. I'm going to try not to introduce any air bubbles, just mix up the culture. Okay. I'm going to put that stopper back on there while I remove the cap from the tube of tryptic soy broth once again and flame the mouth of the tube. Okay. Then I'm going to use the pipette to transfer the dissolved culture from the vial to the tube of tryptic soy broth. So once again, removing the rubbered stopper from the vial and using the pipette to transfer the culture to the tube of broth. Taking care to hold it at an angle. Okay. Now I will flame the mouth of the tube once again. And replace the cap. So this time I'm going to screw the cap to the point of finger tightness and then back about a quarter of a turn, allowing air into the culture but not contaminants. So now I am done with my pipette, so I'm going to put that in the disposal jar. And I'm going to let this culture incubate for, 1 to 2 days at about 77 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm going to blow out my candle. And then the only thing I have to dispose of is this pipette. So I'm going to let it sit for 30 minutes and then dump the alcohol down the drain with the water in the sink running for at least 30 seconds. And then I can dispose of this pipette in the normal household trash. And that is the end of activity 1. I misspoke. I also have to dispose of the little culture vial that the lyophilized culture came in. So how we're going to do that is, this is more of the 10% bleach solution. I'm going to submerge this vial with the stopper in it. And while it is submerged, open the stopper. Let the vial fill so that it sinks. There we go. And we're going to let that soak for 24 hours with the lid on it. After that, I can pour the bleach down the drain with the water running for at least 30 seconds to dilute it. Place the vial in an opaque plastic bag and dispose of it in the household trash. So that is how I will dispose of that. And then right now I am also going to disinfect my workplace. And I actually need a little more of the 10% bleach solution, so I'm going to make that again. 180 mLs of water, 10 mLs of bleach. Mix it up a little bit. Pour it over my station. Take a paper towel and wipe it all over the station, everywhere that I was working. And then allow this to sit again for 2 minutes, just like I did at the beginning. Then wipe it off with a dry paper towel. And that is everything for disposal and cleanup for activity 1. Okay, so here I am preparing for activities 2, 3, and 4. Washing my hands. I had a bad cold this day, so I didn't want to talk. My voice sounded bad, so I am doing a voiceover. So washing my hands in the same manner as I did in preparation for activity 1. Scrubbing palms, backs of hands in between my fingers. Next is going to be knuckles on each hand. And followed by thumbs and creases behind each thumb, and then palms again. Water was way too hot, so I turned on the cold water with my elbow, keeping my hands clean. Rinsed them well, dried with a paper towel and the new roll, and dried them well. And then I'm going to use the paper towel to turn off the water and throw the paper towel away. Okay, so next I use water from that red plastic cup. Same manner as preparation for activity 1, filling the beaker with 180 milliliters of water. Very carefully. And then taking the bleach and adding 10 milliliters to make it a 10% bleach solution. So I'll pour this over my workspace after forgetting to mix it up for a second. Nice and mixed. Pour it over my workspace. Put the 10% bleach solution away. Get 2 paper towels, couple paper towels. Spread the solution over the entirety of the workspace. Also using it to disinfect my grease pencil and culture tube rack. and then letting that sit damp on the workspace, culture tube rack, and pencil for 2 minutes. Okay, it sat there for 2 minutes. Now I'm just using a dry paper towel to dry the disinfectant off of the workspace, pencil, and culture tube rack. Okay. So now I am filling my disinfectant jar with 70% isopropyl alcohol, a new bottle, and setting it aside. So I retrieve a nutrient agar plate that has been out of the fridge for 15 minutes, nutrient broth, and a tryptic soy agar slant, all out of the fridge for 15 minutes. Then I'm going to label the tubes with the name of the organism, which is S. marcescens, and the date, which was June 24th. All right. I will also label the bottom of the agar plate with the organism name and the date. Okay. Finally, I'm going to light my candle, liquid paraffin wax candle, making sure to keep it a safe distance from the disinfectant, and now we're ready for activity 2. So I'm tightening the cap on the reactivated culture and mixing the contents by gently rolling it between my palms. So at this point, the culture has been incubating for 2 days and is ready to be used. Now I'm going to remove a sterile inoculating loop from its packaging. Holding the loop in my dominant hand and immediately closing the bag with the rest of them so that they stay sterile. I do not set the loop down. I retrieve the reactivated culture and use the pinky of my dominant hand to remove the cap while holding the loop in my hand. I flame the mouth of the tube. And insert the sterile loop and retrieve a loop of liquid broth. Holding the tube at an angle the whole time, I flame the mouth of the tube again, never setting the cap down. Replace the cap and put away the reactivated culture. Now I'm taking the nutrient broth tube, removing the cap with the pinky of my dominant hand in the same manner as the reactivated culture, flaming the mouth. Put the flame out, so cut that part out, relit the flame while keeping everything sterile. Never set the loop or the cap down. Now, very carefully inserting the loop of reactivated culture into the broth and swishing it around gently. Then remove the loop. Flame the mouth of the tube of nutrient broth. And replacing the cap. Once again, twisting it so that it's finger tight and then back a quarter of a turn for incubation. So that's the nutrient broth done, and that inoculating loop goes in the disposal jar. So get a new sterile loop. Once again, immediately closing the bag of loops, keeping the loop in my dominant hand, making sure not to set it down or touch anything. Removing the cap of the reactivated culture in the same manner as the previous steps, flaming the mouth. Inserting the loop to obtain another loop of culture. Forgetting to flame the tube, so that could be a source of error in my lab, but I did replace the cap in the correct manner. Now I take the agar slant, flame the mouth, I'm going to insert the inoculating loop and touch it to the bottom of the slant. Then pull the loop back out of the tube, dragging it side to side across the surface of the agar in a fishtail inoculation. Being careful not to gouge the agar. Then flame the mouth of the agar slant tube. And excuse me, replace the cap. Once again, finger tight, then back a quarter of a turn. Disposing of that inoculating loop. Okay. Last time I'm going to mix up the culture. That's the reactivated culture. It's settled a little bit over time. Going to retrieve my next sterile inoculating loop. Same manner as before. Close the bag, hold the loop in my right hand. Do not set it down. I'm going to open the reactivated culture in the same manner as the first two activities. Insert the loop. Oh, yeah, good job. Remember at the last second to flame the mouth of the tube. Insert the loop into the reactivated culture. Draw out a loop of the culture. Flame the mouth of the tube again. and replace the cap. Then I'm going to lift the lid of the Petri dish just slightly at an angle so that contaminants don't get in. And this part is difficult to see because of the angle, but I'm dragging the loop across the surface of the agar in a zigzag orientation. Again, taking care not to gouge the agar. And as soon as I'm done, I'm trying to see if I actually even touched the agar, which I did. But as soon as I'm done, I replace the lid, making sure it's open for the shortest amount of time possible. Again, checking to see if I can see anything. And I turn the agar over for incubation. So that was the end of activities 2 through 4. I am disinfecting my work surface again. 10% bleach solution. Spread it over and allow it to sit for 2 minutes. Also, not in this video, I did this off camera because it's the exact same as cleanup for activity 1. I let the inoculating loops sit in the disinfectant for 30 minutes, pouring the disinfectant down the drain while running the water for 30 seconds, and then disposing of the inoculating loops in the household trash. I should have mentioned at the end of the last video that those 3 cultures, the agar slant, agar plate, and nutrient broth, will be allowed to inoculate at about 77 degrees Fahrenheit for, 48 hours until I take the first picture of the 3 cultures. Then I will take the next picture at 72 hours. And they should exhibit increasing amounts of growth during that time. So those will be incubated for 72 hours total. And then once those are done, once I have pictures and I have all I need from them, I will dispose of them using the 10% bleach bath method, where I don full PPE, insert the plate, the broth tube, the slant into the bleach, open them while submerged in the bleach, let them sit with the lid on for 24 hours, and then dumping or pouring the bleach down the sink drain with the faucet running for at least 30 seconds, and disposing of the slant, plate, and nutrient broth in an opaque plastic bag in the household trash. So I'm doing that off camera because that's going to happen shortly before this video lab is due. So I want to give this video plenty of time to upload since it is quite long. So I also demonstrated the technique for disposing of cultures with the bleach bath in activity 1 when I disposed of the culture vial. That should be everything. That is how long those cultures incubate for and how I dispose of everything used in the lab properly. I think we're all done.